right, welcome everybody to another episode of Star Talks, a show produced by Everybody Eats. We'll be talking today about episode 3 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi limited series on Disney Plus. Sophia, what did you think about episode 3?
I have mixed emotions about it,
Right.
and I have mixed thoughts. There were surprises,
Mm-hmm.
and both good and bad.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that there was a lot of really impactful moments
Yeah.
in episode 3. So, and technically, since this now means that we are just about halfway through, stakes are getting raised, baby.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's one of the things that you can definitely say about this episode in comparison to the first two episodes. The first two episodes, it really felt like the stakes weren't being built up or anything like that. And this episode, in particular, when Vader lands on the planet Tall, I believe. What's the planet?
No, Tall was the one that they said they were from.
Yeah, you're right. But so like when Vader lands on that planet and Kenobi's just like watching him, and you can see the feeling that like he knows exactly where he is. Like he feels him, they feel each other, right? And it's like it's literally as Obi-Wan says, it's like the light's been turned on, right? And he's seeing him for the first time, and I think that was one thing that they did really well is they presented a Vader in which that was terrifying and that terrified Obi-Wan, right? And I think with the direction that they're going with, because I feel like the first two episodes there was still that very much that question of, well, where will they go with this, especially since it's a limited series. You're like, they could have gone this way or this way or this way.
Actually,
right.
I'm gonna pull an actually here.
Okay.
I was talking with other people that I know that are watching the show,
mm-hmm.
and one of them brought up like, "Oh man, like ready for season 2 already?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" They said limited series. Sure enough, rumors around saying that there's some rumors about actually there's production for a season 2.
Really?
So
that'd be amazing.
I mean, obviously go out and confirm for yourselves.
Yeah.
I think it's always too early to tell, because obviously we're just halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think people usually determine whether or not they'll like green light something after like you're a little bit further in. Yeah. But I think there's gonna be some expansion, which I have mixed emotions about, mm-hmm. because I just think that it probably should have just been a longer limited series.
Right.
Especially after it coming off this essence of being a film,
right,
and just having it as this 8-part, 10-part film,
mm-hmm.
Epic, what have you. But I'm not entirely against maybe like a 2-season deal.
Yeah,
I think that would be interesting. I know you are definitely very interested in multiple seasons.
Like, here's the thing: if like I said in the first recording of this, Darth Vader is the ultimate baddie, right? He is the ultimate antagonist, right? And he's built from obviously like fear and anger and like mistrust and all that goody good stuff that a good antagonist can have. But like because of the fact that they're going with Vader just right out the gate, in season 1, like. To be honest with you, I'm almost okay with the fact that this is a limited series, because I feel
mm-hmm.
like if they were going to make this like a multiple season kind of venture, then having it be that last season where, okay, Vader's finally fucking found him, right? I feel like the payoff for that would have been so much more monumental, right? The reason why like the Avengers works as well, your opinion on Marvel as it is, but like the reason all those the Infinity Saga works so well is because you had this big baddie that they're telling you like, hey, he's coming, he's there, right? But like, so I think, in my opinion, I think their opportunity to have it be a multiple season kind of thing, I don't know, it seems kind of already deflated. What I am in particular interested in, because with the direction that they're going in, I'm happy with it. Like episode 3 seemed to be more in the step of form of what I was hoping for in this season, or in this limited series. especially that interaction with Obi-Wan and Vader, like to see them interacting, because like up until now and within canon, the only time they roll, I may be wrong, so if I'm missing some lore out there for the people that are listening, I'm sorry. Okay, please correct me in the comments down below. But up until at least within the film chronology, right? The last time that the first time they met since Mustafar was on the Death Star, right? And they had that weird old fashioned
Their sword fights.
It was an interesting sword fight that they had with each other, but you know, I think that's one thing that's going to be really kind of interesting. Is like, okay, so now we've established, okay, that he's met him, he's fought him, right? And I think that's one of the things he does so well is like it sent like Kenobi seeing him in person, like this is the child that I saw on Tatooine, right? And like the shock from it, I think he was scared, right? And you could see that on Obi-Wan's fighting
absolutely
style.
There is an absolute horror to the presence of Vader, and then obviously the discussion of their relationship, because he hasn't seen Anakin, aka Vader, in the suit before, canonically speaking. And so until you get to A New Hope, and the Frankenstein's monster undertones with all of it, I think obviously people are very much like, oh yeah, that homage in Revenge of the Sith when like he comes up off the table and it's like he's alive. I do think that like the observation of it, as well as like from Kenobi's perspective, is very much like, oh my god, what did I create?
Yeah.
As well, because like I technically didn't see him die.
Yeah.
I assumed he died, and that was it.
Yeah. Obi-Wan Kenobi left Mustafar thinking, I just left my friend to die, and oh, by the way, I cut off 3 of his limbs. Right? That it's such a shock. So I mean, I think that's one of the things that, okay, I think the question of this that they're trying to, if they are trying to answer something, right, is the first 2 episodes, we clearly see a Kenobi that's detached from the Force, right? And this is the first time where he's like, okay, in the first 2 episodes, he says, the fight's done, we lost, just hide. Don't attach to the Force, just hide, right? And I think this interaction that he has is going to reawaken that, like, okay, the darkness is still there, right? And I have to be that source of light.
And I think once he, used the Force to save Leia back in the 2nd episode, I think that reintroduced him to the Force, which is why it looked like he got hit by a bus the minute Vader shows up on the planet, because he can sense the dark side just swirling around him like some freaking tornado.
I mean, I love the build up with it too. Like there was this beautiful moment, where Anakin's Vader, like non-metallic, fully regular Anakin Skywalker Vader is like standing way off on the hills, and he's just like you see it and you see this anger.
Like, oh my god,
it's terrifying, right? And
you don't see a close up, but it just radiates.
Yes. Yes, I loved how they kept it into his perspective, right? Because, like, I mean, I just think that, like, him seeing it, and I think that's one thing that as these films have come out, like, the understanding of the Force and, like, what it does and, like, how it, like, how people feel in, like, within these spaces, explaining that, like, in that way, super fascinating. Like, seeing Anakin and he's coming, Master. That was bone chilling. Yeah, absolutely. Loved it. Yeah. It
makes sense that he would see it as Anakin, not as Vader.
Yeah, exactly.
In the suit yet. Yeah. So that tracks, absolutely.
Yeah, and I really like that actually, because again, it keeps it into the perspective of the main character of Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? And I think that's one of the things, like, he senses his friend, but he also senses the darkness that is surrounding him, right? That approach was beautiful. It was horrifying.
Oh yeah, I mean, we knew we were getting ready for the body count.
Yep.
And we weren't surprised. But oh man, it was brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, just random people. He's like, I'm just going to pull you out and I'm going to kill you. Because what? What, is he going to stop me? He's not. He's not going to stop me.
I'm going to drag you for like 7 feet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you really see, like, Kenobi, like, detaches himself from and he walks away from the Force. Vader is like, he has made it, his decisions and his actions have led him to this point, right? But it's the denial and, like, the result of said actions that he can't accept the fact that he made a miscalculation. So he has to just simply dive further into the dark side because he can't be wrong. He can't be wrong, right? So it was beautiful.
So obviously, then we then move into when they actually confront each other rather than just in the town. Yeah. That was also incredibly violent.
Yeah.
And
it
did not surprise me that he would pull "you burned me, I'm gonna burn you back."
Yeah.
Which is a very eye for an eye moment. And I'm gonna quote my roommate here on this section because we were talking about it, and she had said that, oh yeah, Anakin lives for the drama, regardless of being Vader. So he's gonna make it as melodramatic as possible to drag him through fire, to let him escape.
Right.
When the fire gets reignited again, because he could have just blown it out again. But I think he's also now like, all right, I've scared the shit out of him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let him get away, but he knows that I'm coming for him, and it's not gonna be pretty. I'm gonna draw it out. I'm gonna make you suffer so much, and it's gonna be just over the top.
Yeah.
Because he's a psychotic drama queen at this point.
Yeah.
An absolute diva.
A little melodramatic there, Mr. Vader, sir. I'm going to cool it off on that real quick. No, I mean, like, that whole sequence was just, like, you cannot hide Obi-Wan. Oh, good God. It's bone-chilling, And, like, how he kind of emerges from the darkness and you see the lights from his little chest plate just emerging from the darkness. It was absolutely gorgeous, right? And that's the thing, like, you see, like, I love how, like, the poster, there's a shot of, like, you clearly see Vader's lightsaber turn on, and you have Obi-Wan standing there, like very, like, proud and like, I can stand up to you. I have the Force. No, that's not at all what happened.
We're not there yet.
No. Like, he literally, like, he turned on his lightsaber and Obi-Wan was like, oh shit! Like, he looks like, and that was perfect. Like, I genuinely, like, started laughing when he was like, I'm just gonna run away now. I'm just gonna get out of this situation.
Me too. It was so tense, but I was like, you know what? I don't blame you.
I don't blame you either, man. Like, I'd be hauling ass, dude. Like, I'd be booking it. Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's going to be something so interesting is, like, okay, so, and this is why I'm happy about it, because we have 2 episodes left. And I'm hoping the 3rd episode, sorry, 3.
Fourth.
We have 3.
Yeah.
3 episodes?
Yes, we do have 3.
We have 3 episodes. Whew, that's way better. But so we have 3 episodes left, and for these next 3 episodes, I think what they're going to be going for is, like, him getting reattached to the Force and having to deal with some of the demons from his past, right?
Yeah.
And finally being able to communicate with, like, to find peace and to find solace within the Force, like his religion has really taught him to do, right? He's been very much against that. So I think that's going to be a very, very exciting thing to witness for the series. I'm really curious how he's going to get away from him. Like, that's going to be something that I feel like the exit of this season or of this limited series is got to be, like, because he doesn't find Luke on Tatooine ultimately, right? Vader doesn't find
Luke.
He
has to end up back there.
Yes, he does, right? And so I think that was, like, they solved that issue with the Leia mission, right? But I think that's one of those things where the landing on that's got to be smooth, because it's got to make sense. It has to make some sense.
Absolutely, and I think So based on our previous episode, I think we had theorized that this would be probably one of the last episodes with Leia in it, in regards to tagging along for the narrative.
Yeah.
But I think we made a miscalculation.
Yeah.
She has now been kidnapped. Spoilers. But I do gotta say, this is actually probably one of my minor gripes with the episode, is I have no idea how Reva beat her to the pilot without passing her. Like, no way. Especially after entering the same way, and then also not. I mean, I get that it's possibly like a tunnel system.
She like walked around.
So like, I could understand the other lady missing her while going to get, help out Obi-Wan, but I have no idea how Reva beat her.
No idea.
To like the main. No idea. I'm like, maybe she's got force speed. Who knows?
I mean, even that, she was doing her parkour. She wasn't like doing parkour speed. She wasn't moving that fast. She was just moving like a regular person. Like it wasn't that impressive. You know what I mean?
So I'd say that's like one inconsistency that just I'm like, all right, well, they needed her to get there because drama.
Yes, because the plot.
But also
it.
now I would say it is pretty wild, because this means that Vader and Leia are gonna end up in the same room together. I think that it's highly likely that they will.
Either that, or they're gonna rescue her before.
Well, they're gonna have to rescue her. I don't know. I think it's gonna get pretty close, though. I know that I kind of theorized this in our previous episode too, where I was like, all right, they're gonna like just barely miss each other. She's gonna like get caught up in stuff, or they're just it's the transfer's gonna happen, and like she's just gonna have like this close proximity to Vader, but they don't meet until obviously A New Hope,
right?
Which is like still kind of my theory for the most part, but I do think that they're flirting with the possibility that she will be she might potentially run into him.
I don't know, because like she or he like the way she talks to him in A New Hope, like Leia talks to him, it seems like she like knows, like there seems to be an air of familiarity with it.
Yeah, she's not scared. She's scared as like, I recognized your foul stench when I was brought on board.
Yeah, exactly. Oh. So I mean, I feel like she's not scared by his armor or like the Force by him or anything. I think it's because maybe that's kind of tapping into like her Force abilities. Like she sees the scared little man that's inside that big suit of armor, right? And that's really, I think that might be it. But also, if they go in the direction where they meet, that could be a really interesting kind of conversation to have with that.
It'll be complicated because he cannot know that she's his daughter yet.
No. Unless
ever.
No,
because he only finds out on like the last episode.
Yeah. Before
he dies, he picks up like, sister. Oh, I have another
one. Look, guys, I have another daughter. That shit is so funny. One thing that actually I really like. This is one thing where I just believe that the fan base of Star Wars is so powerful that it's like everybody of every length and of celebrity would be willing to be in it, even if their face isn't shown. Zach Baff was Freck. He was the little mole guy creature.
Mole guy! Yeah, oh, no way!
He was the mole guy, and I didn't know that, but like that's the thing. You have these characters in the movies, like same with James Bond. Daniel Craig.
Craig.
He played that stormtrooper, right? People just love the lore of this so much that they're willing to play a masked character simply to just be in it, And I think that's something that's so beautiful about this, about the Star Wars kind of like universe, or like people's opinion of it, is that there is a deep love with this kind of lore. With this, it's very much built in, at least within America, if not the world, the zeitgeist of like general pop culture understanding and stuff like that. So him being in it was really fascinating to find out, because I didn't recognize his voice either. Like that's not his, like they definitely modulated it in some way.
people, they were doing something.
Yeah, exactly. Also, he was like, "Hey, check out these people in there. They seem sketchy." What? All
Yeah,
right.
he's like, hey, I picked up some random walkers. Like,
Yeah.
check them out.
Yeah. Check. Go on. Check them out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, okay. I mean, because, yeah, I was like, yo, it's a little hard. You guys are pretty sus.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on, man. Like, I see that. I feel like that's just one of the plot armors that they got. And even like looking at that fight choreography scene versus the second episode when he's fighting in the alley, it's much more smooth.
Yeah.
It's concise, right? And his movements are very much more. It just seems more smooth and fluid. Whereas before, he would tap into it, and I think his brain would just say, "Nope, can't do that. Don't do that."
Yeah, it's getting used to it again. If anything, it actually it was much more, I don't want to say strategic, because I think this is that's only a facet of what I'm trying to say, but like
Right.
it's extremely effective combat.
Yes.
He's like, I am trying to get rid of as many people in as few of moves as possible.
And then miss one.
And yeah.
But I mean, like,
I was amazed they let us see a person go in half. I was like,
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I think that's one of the other things is that his force ability is like, while it's still very built within him, I think it's very much weakened. That's a muscle that he hasn't really flexed in a very long time. So, whereas before, I feel like that would have been not a problem, and he would have just like done some Jedi mind trick or something like that. And like that's gonna, I can't wait, because there was a few times where it was like, you could do it, just do it. We are not the droids you're looking for. You know, like just please, give me that line. You know, like where it's more Alec Guinness. You know, of Obi-Wan, and like that's the thing that's going to be super exciting, is getting him to this point where like he can communicate with Qui-Gon Jinn, he can communicate with Yoda, right? Those are huge steps within like his understanding of this. So I think by the end, there's definitely going to be that conflict with Vader, Ava, and like they need to be able to solve the forgive me, Reva. I said Ava. I watched Ex Machina last night. I'm sorry. Such a good movie. But I think once they need to be able to solve that, and if they tackle too much, especially with the Vader Leia stuff, I think if they introduce that kind of dynamic between them, like they can't solve that. That's an insolvable kind of thing with the amount of episodes we have left. So I'm hoping that they just stick to what they're trying to do right now, which is the relationship between Vader and Obi-Wan, right? And how Reva, it kind of like is in between that, you know, and I think if they focus on that right there, right, and Reva is really is on that pendulum, right? She is on, right now she's on the dark side, but like I bet like that's going to be one of the things, she's going to be resolved back to the light, and that's when Vader's going to come back in. That's my theory. Yeah, that's my.
I see where your theory comes from, because I think once Reva discovered the underground sanctuary for the tunnel system and like all the writings, I think that was, I gotta give props, I think that was probably her best scene, because I felt like I was actually like kind of getting to tap into her a little bit, and I was seeing a little bit of variation, and I'm like, okay, there's other stuff going on here besides I'm just angry about X things.
Do you think that actually kind of brings up an interesting thought? Do you think that the reason Reva was able to catch up to her is because she knows the system? Yeah, she knows the system.
Maybe, but here's the thing: I don't know. Maybe it could have been long enough for her to not fully recognize, because she was still like piecing it together that like, there's something here, right? Because she's like, oh, you have this specific droid, because you're definitely tapping in more into like, she has a very good job. She does a very good job at like picking up on things. She's very observant. Yeah. And so, her going in, I think personally how I perceived it as an audience member was she feels resentment, because she's like, why didn't they get me? Ooh. Why weren't they able to save me? Right. If that is part of her backstory. Yeah. Obviously we're probably going to get like a full fill-in either next episode, maybe on the 5th. I don't know. But like, I mean, we need to, I don't know. I think we're still at a point where Reva still feels relatively undeveloped.
Yeah.
She's getting there, but like you need to ramp it up a little bit because I think that if you really want to like bring her to the light side, you're going to need that season 2 if you don't flesh her out a little more in the next couple episodes.
I mean, yeah, I agree.
In my opinion.
No, I 100% agree with you because if she's not, like, I agree. I think that they're going to need to put some serious time into her development and her reason why she hates Obi-Wan so much. And I think it's because he quit. He said, the fight's done. I need to just hide and everyone is dead. Right? I think that's going to be a huge thing that they need to do. But, I mean, I think they could probably resolve it by the end of this season, or this series, rather, is, like, you don't need to go to the light side for Vader to kill you, right? He just needs to sense that you're thinking about it, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry, you froze.
No, he'll kill you almost for no reason if he doesn't want to.
Exactly. He'll kill you for whatever, but if he even, like, smells a whiff of, like, you smell like you're a good person again. Like, he's like, I'm going to kill you. Like, he's a sociopath. He's a psychopath. Like, he's literally going to, like, kill. He blew up a planet, everybody, okay? He killed a bunch of younglings. Now, yeah, so, like, I think overall, like, this was by far my favorite episode so far. Because it a lot of things happened in it, and a lot of development happened with the relationship that we have not seen with Vader and Obi-Wan. The introductory sequence for Vader was amazing. It was perfect.
Oh, yeah.
It looked painful as hell.
You know what? Oh, yeah.
It looks painful. Like the chest plate going like inside his body. Ugh. Ooh.
Yeah. It was a lot to watch. And you know what? Actually, I think this is a great segue into my praise of Hayden Christensen, who I believe is in the suit.
Yes, he is.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And this was actually probably the biggest thing that myself as a Vader fan, well, I mean, I don't love Vader. I love him being a villain, but I don't. Anyway,
I understand.
You understand. We see red flags.
I want to bring him home for the holidays and just like, here, let's try some turkey. You know what I mean? Like, seems like that kind of guy. You know? No. No.
Yeah. Oh man. But no. So basically, I've always been very much a person Vader is his own person as a character because it takes two people to create him.
How do you mean?
And well, because you have James Earl Jones doing the voice.
Oh right.
And then you have, oh my gosh, I can never recall names, but the initial physical actor who was cast to play him basically did all of the physical work. Hold on. I want to give him due credit because I think that he doesn't get enough credit as it. Did you know else he's been blackballed?
He's what?
Conventions and stuff.
Really?
He's been blackballed.
Why?
Yeah, because there's a lot of drama. Okay. Yes, sorry, David Prowse. So, Prowse got into bad blood with Lucas because there was a perceived, there is information that says that he actually spoiled the reveal, one of the reveals for the series, for the three initial movies. And Prowse said that he hadn't even seen the sides for it. He literally made a guess while being asked by reporters, and it ended up being accurate. That's how he says it. Because they were keeping it pretty under lock and key about the big reveal in regards to Luke and Vader and their relationship.
Right. Yeah, that was super locked. Like.
Yeah, and so yeah, basically that was predominantly it. They were like, "Oh no, dude, you leaked," or somebody guessed. There was some discussion that like they were blaming him for a leak.
Right. And he's blackballed.
And he's blackballed from all conventions by Lucas and Lucasfilm.
Wow.
There's also unfavorable TV use, which weirdly enough, I have seen other people repeat stuff the same way. So I don't know how valid that is in regards to criticizing him or how he worded certain things.
Right.
But they aren't favorable. But yeah, no. Prowse is literally the physical embodiment of Vader. Yeah. You know, he's the grandiose, he's the posture, he's the movement, he's the fights. You know, he's all that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he did the choreography, but you know, he's the physical presence of Vader, right. Whereas James Earl Jones is the voice. And so I'm like, it takes two people to make Vader, because so Vader is his own entity as a character.
Right.
And the number one thing that like myself and several other fans that I know have sometimes struggled with when you see Vader again on screen is they're like, he's not moving like Prowse. It's not the same. There's a different way that they're carrying themselves. And so some people like try really well to match, some get pretty far, and then others like they don't do so well. Yeah. And then also it doesn't help when like say the fitting for the suit looks weird.
Right.
Because I know that was what was some of the big comments for Rogue One is the helmet looked funny.
Right. I mean, they change it every.
Yeah, they change it up every once in a while, which I mean, like, is realistic, but at the same time,
if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what
I mean? But what I was going to say is personally, if it is indeed Hayden Christensen within the suit, I think he has filled it out very well since the last time he put it on back in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And I think the design of the suit is fantastic. And I think that Hayden Christensen is he's doing a very good job.
Yes.
In my opinion, with the physicality of Vader. And so I'm very happy with that, personally.
It seems very much like, I agree with you. You could feel that anger within him. And like where in comparison to like the Ray Parker, is that what his name is? Right? The guy who the physicality of Vader, right? No,
David Prowse.
Ray Parker is Darth Maul. Okay.
Yeah, no, David Prowse.
Yeah, David Prowse. No, he. I think where like people might criticize it, Hayden Christensen for it. That's like 20 years down the line. Like that's another 20 years as being Vader, right? So like.
Absolutely.
I think like we can give a little bit of leeway towards Hayden Christensen. I agree with you. I think he's doing a masterful job. He's got this like the fact that he turns his lightsaber on, right, and Obi-Wan books it, and he doesn't like chase after him, right? He's just gonna like slowly like, I know exactly where you are. I don't need to find you. You're right. You were the closest I've felt you in decades, right, or in like 10 years since.
Freaking shark.
Yeah. Like he feels him in the water with him, and that's like that physicality and the way that he holds himself. Because I feel like, especially with like the Mandalorian, like there are a lot of characters in Star Wars, Boba Fett, that are masked almost the entire time, you know. And Vader's one of those characters where the only time he's not gonna have his mask on is when he's in his little office thing, or he's in his bathtub, right? There's no real option between one or the other, you know. So like I loved the fact that they showed Hayden Christensen as non-mechanized Vader in Obi-Wan's vision, and then they have him at the end of episode 2, that close-up with his eyes and his face while he's in the bathtub. It's not a bathtub, but that's just that's the only thing I can think to call it, you know what I mean?
The tank.
Tank, the tube, you know, whatever. So I think that like the fact that they started that close-up on him, right, I fully believed that he did an amazing job, and he fully embodied the Vader, the Vader that Hayden Christensen that we wanted in episode 3, I feel like is really is coming to fruition now that we finally get to see, like, oh, they get to see each other again when he's like all mechanized. Okay. This just went to a whole nother level.
Yeah, the fight style changed also went perfectly well. Vader becomes a single arm fighter that is very strong, like almost like a battle hammer type deal.
Yeah.
And I think that came off very well. You could just see the force of his blows, which was fantastic.
Knocking Obi-Wan to the ground.
Yeah, I think that and then I think Ewan McGregor did a great job being scared out of his mind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be difficult, to be honest with you.
No, well, I think in an interview he said like, "Oh yeah, here in a roll."
Sorry, hold on.
Oh yeah.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, can you say that one more time?
Yeah, well, so basically, I think I saw an interview where he basically was like one of the first times that he saw Hayden in the suit.
Right.
He's like, "Oh yeah, Vader comes up behind me," and he's like, "I turned around, and it was like, I think it was the first time I ever felt visceral fear in a role. Like that wasn't acting.
Yeah.
That was sheer terror." Which is what we love to see.
Yeah, exactly, right? That's something that I'm just so looking forward to with the next 3 episodes is Obi-Wan he can't leave this and not be changed and not be affected.
Oh, no.
Right? So what he's going to do with that to the point where he can get to that point where he's standing there as Vader has his lightsaber on and he's just standing there proudly like, I have the Force with me. Right, I am one with the Force is with me. Rogue One, getting him to that point, because right now he let his fear take over. He let the fear of that he had of like his mistakes and the monster that he created, the monster that is coming after him. Just the fact that it's trying to kill him alone, that's a terrifying thing to have to try and go through. So get him to that point where he's no longer fearful of Vader. I think is going to be a really, really interesting kind of development to get to, Also, getting him to the point where, he's okay to be killed by him. In episode 4, he literally...
Eventually.
Spoiler alert, Obi-Wan dies in episode 4, the original. Getting him to the point where, he's legitimately okay with being murdered by his apprentice, right?
Well, obviously for the right... I mean, he lets himself go for the progression of Luke.
Yes.
So I think it is not necessarily an acceptance of being able to. I mean, I do believe in the concept of the acceptance of sacrifice.
Right.
In that sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that he's has this sense of okay, I need to at least be back for as well. Personally, I think there's still going to be sort of that, but I don't know. I guess to round out some of the sections so we've talked about a lot of what we really liked in the episode.
Yeah.
Was there anything that took you by surprise, weren't quite expecting, or anything that seemed a little bit awkward?
I mean, I really wasn't expecting Vader and Obi-Wan to fight in that episode. I was really happy when it happened. I was not expecting it to happen this early in the season. And I think that the fact that they took such a strong direction into what they're trying to do with this limited series, I was very much okay with it happening, and I'm really actually quite glad that it happened. We're midway through the season now, and some changes have to be getting done. This is definitely the lowest point for Obi-Wan. He's injured, he has burns all over his body, and this is a big development. So I'm quite happy with this episode. In comparison, like I said before, this is my favorite episode, and I have hardly any gripes really. It would be nitpicky at that point for what gripes I did or did not have. But yeah, maybe I don't know. I felt if it was me, logistically speaking, I would have just hightailed it to the ship and got off the planet immediately.
And honestly, I think as fans, we probably wouldn't have a problem with that, because we're oh well, now we're just building up to for the fight, sort of deal.
Yes.
So I think that was actually kind of an interesting misdirect.
Yeah.
For the audience.
Yeah. because nobody thought that this was going to happen. And like I said, the fact that they did have them fight, right? They've already done that first round, right? And now it's okay. Now it's going to be the Rocky Balboa training montage. He's going to start doing the one-arm push-ups, handstands while lifting rocks up in the air. It's going to be madness. It's going to be beautiful. But so that's a big thing. He's got to start working out for this fight that he's going to have with Vader, right? To rescue Leia, which is, again, a very big shock. I did not expect Leia Organa to be such a huge part of this series.
Yeah.
But I'm actually, the more that I see her, the more I'm liking her presence.
Okay, good, yay!
I liked it, but I still think my original note rings true. She seems to be very much Leia Organa 20 years from now, and not Leia Organa, an 8-year-old child. So, but genuinely, this is because of how shocking and misdirected and a strong take that they're taking with this. It makes me excited for the rest of the season, and because it makes me think that their focus of this is between the pendulum of Obi-Wan on the light, Darth Vader in the middle, and then Reva on the dark side, and then Reva in the middle. And that pendulum of where is she going to go is really going to be the big thing that they're going to try and solve in this, and then how the two pendulums are going to react to Reva's reaction or choice, So that's going to be super exciting.
I think that's going to be a peak character moment for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple minor, obviously I think that the perception of acting sometimes is very subjective. Okay. I do think there were some acting moments from different parts of the cast, whether also in directing and just how it ended up coming off in the film, that were a little big.
Which ones? Can you give me examples?
As in, and also for reference, big as in almost like a stage, it was very loud for a screen performance. I think it was just distinctly, it was Obi-Wan when he was kind of chiding her in the desert. It was just, I'm like, okay, I don't know, it felt a little unnatural how quickly, the pacing wasn't quite there in how they were, on how he was getting on her.
Right.
That was just me. And then also when he messes up and then she's kind of fumbling, I don't know if that's on the editor, but she kind of fumbles doubly at the same time, where it sounds like it's supposed to be she's interrupted. Right. In a trail off, but the actor, doesn't know what else to say. And so it feels like that drags out a little bit, and it makes it twice as awkward, which maybe is what they're going for, but twice as awkward when they're kind of caught in the lie sort of deal.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was just me. I was I'm going to let it slide, but that was kind of awkward. But then it leads into one of my favorite pieces, which was when she's like, okay, you actually knew my mom. I know you knew my mom because you looked at me funny.
That was a beautiful scene. That was a beautiful scene. Because you see the subtext of what he's dealing with. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and then also, I think probably what I kind of laughed a little bit at this section in a lighthearted way. Because she's like, well, then are you my dad? And he's like, God, I wish that was easy. That would have been easier.
Yeah. It would be so much easier.
Well, dude, some of the fandom wishes you were too.
I mean, low key, I wish that Rey was Obi-Wan's kid. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted.
I mean, I knew he'd never be actual Obi-Wan's kid. Yeah. Obviously, there is the possibility of family, because everyone comes from a family.
Right.
And we now get canon that he might have had a younger sibling.
Maybe.
But actually, I loved that piece of information.
Right.
Where he kind of talks about I kind of have just these very vague memories.
I remember my dad's hands.
Become a different person. Those. That was great writing in regards to that being how you would memory recall something like that after being taken away to go train and no longer form extreme or intense attachments to anyone. That was just beautiful. I loved that so much. Yeah. So for all the little weird weirdly paced dialogue moments, like those kind of made up for it. And like once again, they were back in the zone. You could tell the actors were back in sync about the scene,
Right.
and so that was great. But yeah, no, I think all of my personal, nitpicks I think have already been mentioned.
Right.
In
Yeah.
earlier parts of this discussion. So.
Right. I mean, all in all, I would say I would give this one the top marks for the series so far, and it really makes me excited since we're literally at that midpoint now. We're right at that perfect moment where, again, it feels very much like a film, really, right? We're in the midpoint of the film, and he just experienced a devastating defeat, right? And now what is he? He's got to regroup. He's got to reorientate himself, and he's got to go back out, and he's got to rescue Leia once again in the belly of the whale, in literally the belly of the whale, which is really a great callback to the original formatting of Star Wars and the monomyth of Joseph Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very, very much excited for the rest of the season, and I'm hoping that we get like a hello there by the end of this show.
I got one.
Yeah,
when they showed up at the.
Yeah, he was like hello, like when they pull up, when Freck pulls up, and he's like, yeah, I was like, please say it, hello, damn it. But yeah, so far in the season, how are you feeling in comparison to the rest of what we've seen so far? How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I think my rating's kind of gone up a little bit, just because
you were at a 4.5
nuggets of
before
gold are really shining through. But it's like maybe gone up a half step. I wouldn't necessarily say a full step, because I do think that like I don't know if I can actually really give a full rating until I finally see where it all goes. Because there are pieces that you're like, all right, well, these can go multiple ways.
Right.
Which one do they pick? Because that's gonna influence how I perceive.
Yeah, we're still making our way through the book. We're still making our way.
The story is unfolding.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, it feels like a page turner. Let me just say, it's a page turner, and
I'd read that comic book.
100%, 100%. And like, to be honest with you, I can't wait for the next episode. But all in all, like, I think this is a great place to stop.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the series so far? What do you guys are hoping that they could do with the Vader and Reva and Obi-Wan connections? Where do you think it's going to go? How do you think it's going to go? Yeah.
Leia's going to get out of stuff on her own.
Yo, I mean, honestly, that might be a big thing. Yeah, leave your comments and theories down below. We'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for checking in. Everybody eats. This is Star Talks, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.